Alright, what's good everybody? Quancredible here to bring you the episode review for Black Clover episode 146, I want to say this one was. And before I even really get into the review of the episode, I just want to say the masks were stupid. Like, like them turning their mask upside down to now reference them being a different group or the same group but kind of different to be the Devil Believers is so stupid. Like, that just irritated me. Like, I'm not saying it has to be some big thing, but like it was just so dumb. Like, we turn our masks upside down, we're a different group now. It was dumb. But anyway, first and foremost, I want to say I was incorrect at the end of my last video because I was talking about in the last episode review how it looked like in the previews that all these people were alive, like Kabe and the other Magic Parliament members that were part of the Banishers. But no, in this episode they died. They got poisoned and died. Well, Kabe got poisoned and stabbed, but no, they were dead. So yeah, that kind of surprised me, just because people typically don't like die like all like that. So yeah, that was a thing. So the basis of the beginning of the episode is, it picked up right where the last one had left off with, Kabe relaying the message to Daminato and the other captains that Dazu had betrayed them. Her and another small group of the Banishers turning them into the Devil Believers. Now, with this, in that little not really gonna call it a flashback, but kind of a flashback part, we kind of get to see where some of Dazu's motivation comes from. Because as of right now, we really didn't have any from her, but apparently, just like how the newer openings have been, she's one of those people that can hardly use magic. Like, she really can't do anything by herself, just because of how low amount of magic she has. And it stems all the way back to, she was a kid and she wanted to make friends and she couldn't just because she barely had any magic. Like, at first glance it seems like that would be her only reason, but I mean, you gotta remember that obviously they can't show us Dazu's entire life right at that exact moment. So I'm pretty sure there are lots of other instances that drew her to that conclusion, not just that one instance of those two girls not being her friends. Unless I'm wrong about that, which would make her entire motivation dumb. But I'm pretty sure they're just like using one example, and then we can assume from there that she's had other, cases where having a very low amount of magic has hindered her in life. Um, and it's definitely one of those things that you wouldn't even think about. Like, it was later on in the episode that Magna even told Noel and Asta that you guys probably wouldn't know about it. There's actually a ton of people out there who can't really use magic all like that, and it makes sense because Noel's a royal. So everyone in her family can use magic to a degree. Like, it's something she would never think of that even existed. And Asta, he never could use it at all. So it's like, anybody who could barely use magic, if they came into contact with Asta, they'd be like, well, at least I'm better than that guy. So it's one of those things where those two would never really have like came across this kind of thing. But anyway, when the Black Bulls are investigating where the message came from, it was like kind of a cool moment to see Gordon actually do something. I feel like Gordon did more in this one episode of filler than he kind of has in 90% of the actual story of Black Clover. It definitely outside of his help in like the Alpha Gauch fight. That's like kind of about it. So Gordon being able to identify some poisons, I was all for it. And also him having the connect in the village with the old lady. I thought that was really cool how they tied that back, because I really just wrote that off as like a really jokey gag moment, which it was. But to see that moment played some significance in this episode with them going back to Maggie to get information was kind of neat. And then from there, it's weird because the old lady doesn't really tell us anything that we didn't already know about Dazu, because from what we've seen in the story as the viewer, she's been portrayed to be like, happily married and all this other stuff, even though like we kind of see that there's definitely more to that, or, there's more to that just base surface level. And that's what Noelle pointed out when they investigated the house, is that, they say that she's always happy, but in her wedding picture she looks sad. So it's one of those things where, us, the audience, we've been seeing that she looks sketch, and, the main cast is starting to see it too. And I kind of like the comparison that they drew between Bo and Asta, talking about how like, oh, they don't have a recovery mage, so Bo's the one who does all the healing with her potions and tonics and all this other stuff. And probably the reason that she was able to become an expert apothecary is because she didn't have magic, so she just had to learn how to do it, the old-fashioned way, which is really interesting. I almost wouldn't have mind like if there was a character like that in Black Clover outside of her, but like a mainstaying character that like couldn't use magic all like that, but had to use like potions and stuff. Like I feel like that's a really interesting way to fight, throwing like random bombs and sleep potions and poison and all of that and that kind of thing. Obviously, that person's not beating any crazy strong people. Like a potions person probably isn't gonna beat like Nozel or anything. But I just think it's a really interesting premise for a character. But from there, we basically get that the believers are going to gather up, Nero and Asa's Grimoire and just give it to the Spade Kingdom. So it's kind of cool that the anime filler thing is trying to connect to the main story, like connect back. So we might even get to see some Spade Kingdom people in here, which would be very interesting. Now I'm not really for sure what exactly like turning them over to the Spade would really do. Is because like just giving them Nero and Asa's Grimoire, I'm not for sure like thinking about the Spade, like what they could really do with that. Like I'm not for sure if there's something they could actually do with it, or if they're just hoping to get like double power in exchange for these things. That's probably what it more so is. They're probably trying to give it to them and then hopefully they give them something in return. That's probably more than likely what they're after. Um, and the whole like tie back to when Asta and them found this out, when like Asta firsthand seen that little boy who was mad disrespectful to his mom, by the way. Like I understand your leg's broken, you want to get healed, but to like push your mom down, that's kind of a lot. That's definitely kind of a lot. But to see that like them, the little boy Dazu, other people that can barely use magic, that in their eyes, just because Asta has the power of the devil, he can fight and he can be useful and he does exist. Like he is making a impact with this. So like they kind of look up to Asta in that regard, which is really interesting because that's not really a angle that I would have ever thought about. That like that, but like when you really think about it, that's probably how it looks to them. Like I could totally see portrayal wise how it's like, oh, this guy doesn't have any magic, and since he has a double power, he's able to fight with magic knights. Like I could totally see where the connection could actually be drawn if something like that actually happened, which is really cool. It's taken a direction I did not expect it to take. Now I will say, me personally, I'm gonna still need like a decent bit more from Dazu's character. I'm not quite sold on her just yet. Like again, I'm not saying she has to be amazing, and if you like her already, more power to you. But to really be good, I feel like I just need a little bit more from her. Like the backstory, which is a little lacking. So hopefully, with whatever the reveal is with her husband and her mother-in-law, will kind of push her over the edge for me. And I would definitely love some characterization for Bo, because as of right now, it just looks like she just does whatever Dazu wants just because she kind of likes Dazu, I guess. Like, I'm not really for sure what their relationship is. It definitely seems more than friends, but it's like, it's a lot of impliedness here. And I just, hopefully, we can really get characterization from them, because my main gripe, I feel like, with this filler is it seems like the story just kind of goes. Like, it doesn't, it feels like it's moving, but not moving like well. Like, it's not it I'm not saying it needs to be actiony, but it feels like it's just missing something. So hopefully once we get their characterization, that might tie everything back together, but we'll just have to see on that one. So yeah, I watched the previews. I'm not really for sure what direction they're going to go next. I am assuming that they probably will make it like at least to the strong magic region. I don't think they'll get all the way through it to the Spade Kingdom. Like I don't think we're going to get that far, nor do I even think they're going to get that far in general. Like I feel like the fight will happen like in the magic region, like maybe like in the middle of it, or like on that border of the magic region and the Clover Kingdom. Now I definitely don't see it wrapping up next episode or even in the next two, because I still feel like, as I've said before, we don't really have a big bad necessarily. Like we don't have who like the end fight person in this arc will be. So still kind of seeing where we're going to go for that, just because how shonens go, like we typically have one. So it's going to be real dicey to see how they do this. Now overall the episode, it was okay. I'd give it like 6, 5.5, 6 out of 10. It wasn't a bad episode. It wasn't an amazing episode. I mean, some of the reveals were kind of cool, but you know, nothing mad crazy. Let me know what you guys feel about the episode down below. How are you guys enjoying the filler arc right now? Because this is like the longest filler arc for Black Clover that we've gotten so far. Like typically anything fillerish in Black Clover is only like a couple episodes, maybe like 2, 3 at the absolute most. So like to have our first actual one, I am curious to see how the rest of you guys are feeling about it. Um, Outside of that, make sure you like the video as well as subscribe to the channel. I know I say it a lot, but it's just because I really want the channel to grow as big as it possibly can. Outside of that, I hope you guys all enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you in my next video.